Hi, welcome. I'm Tom, your host, and this is the DROPCAST Movie Poster Podcast Interview Edition. Today, I have finally a chance to talk a mysterious man I have been waiting to talk for such a long time, and it's J.C. Richards, and he has done so much great art, and we've been chatting for a while before here, and dropping some phones and cameras and putting up mics, so it will be a fun show, I can guarantee that, and yeah, stay tuned for that. Hit the like buttons because we need it, and you need it to get some more great content. And check out ours on YouTube for the video format, also on all the podcast platforms. And now let's talk to the man himself. JC, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I can't complain. I'm a little stuffy nose, and that's why I think I look a little bit tired. I don't know how.
You look great, man. I was gonna say you look rested. You look handsome. We're ready to go.
Thank you. I'll take that. But I don't feel rested at all. I almost fell asleep on the train, like back from work, and yeah. So
that makes two of us.
I just want to say you have been tired. You've been up for around 32 hours, you said. So
33. We're going on 33 now.
Oh man, and the podcast is gonna take it even longer. So hallucinations? Anything happen yet?
I hope so, man. That's what I'm really wishing for. It'll make it really interesting, and we got to give the people what they want.
That's right. I really like that. And yeah, let's see if the hallucination is going to kick in with the speed round. I'm going to give you 10 words or 10 things that you can associate something with. Could be some favorites, like favorite off kind of questions as well. So be prepared. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready, man.
Okay, then we start out with the easy one and always a favorite one, and that is color.
Oh, red, gray, black.
Red, gray, black. Is that mixed together?
That's my scheme. That's my scheme. For some reason, I dream in those colors. I've been wearing those colors since I was a tiny little babe. It's just I don't know where it comes from. Obviously, someone scarred me at some point, or you know, I don't even question it anymore. Those are just my colors. Red, gray, black. You give me those, I'm comfortable. I'm good.
I'll take it. What's your favorite holiday destination?
My holiday destination?
Yeah, where do you want to go? Like,
to
go.
Interesting, man. Interesting. I love Canada. I love Newfoundland, which a lot of my relatives are from. Yeah, it's right up the coast. I love where I live, man. I love New England. Mm-hmm. I love the Southwest. I love Hawaii.
Just want to say maybe Hawaii.
Yeah, the Big Island, and I spent a lot of time out there, luckily, and yeah, I love it out there. Have
you been to Europe?
A little tough to.
How about Europe?
I have not been to Europe. I was going to actually. That was my next thing. Is my next destination. I have to get out there. Berlin is one of my destinations I've always wanted to see.
You better stop by, man. I'll show you around.
Yeah. Well, now I have a guide, so yeah, that's going to be top of my list, and. It's funny. We didn't talk about this, but I am actually right now doing a poster that has Berlin elements in it, and I can't reveal it because it's still too early. But I'm going to talk to you after we hang up here. We'll talk more about that because I need your guidance.
I just want to say if you need reference, I can help out with that.
Yeah, I'm going to say to you, is this Berlin enough? And you can let me know.
Good. We do that.
Okay.
And next up is, what song is on heavy rotation right now?
What song? That's interesting. You know what song? It's a record. I'm back into Radiohead for some reason this month.
Yeah. Sure.
So basically, OK Computer is just spinning constantly, and then we have. A lot of Fugazi. For some reason, I'm listening to a lot of live Fugazi. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but
I know of them, but not.
Yeah, a lot of like late '80s hardcore, and I don't know. I just the shouting is just it's just speaking to me right now. I don't know if it's because I'm so busy and I just need the
constant screaming of the boss.
The impetus. It's just energetic, and you listen to Ian and you just want to do stuff. You just want to get out there and meet the world.
That's something you listen to while you work, right? Or
yeah, I listen to that. I listen to some podcasts. I've listened to your show, the DROPCAST.
Thank you.
Plug and yeah, and basically just I'll listen to guitar luthier videos, how to fix a broken headstock, and anything to shut off that part of your brain that just wants to like be analytical when you're working on artwork. You just want to you want to be all beta waves, no alpha waves. You just so distraction is some people just can't stand it, but I need some white noise. I need some music or someone talking or it seems to work.
All right. What would your other job be if you were not an artist?
Love to be a musician. No money in that. But yeah, that would be great. Like most artists, I'm a failed wannabe musician. And and also a teacher, which we were talking earlier. Fellow teacher right there. I come from a family of teachers. I respect teachers. I think it's one of the most worthwhile, noble pursuits that you can.
Thank you.
Can do in
what
life.
subjects? What subjects would you teach?
Love history. It's one of those things that is a very precarious thing right now. Some people think that you can, kind of shape it to how you want it to be, and I think history teachers. Yeah, and actual empirical knowledge has become very rare.
Yeah.
And quantifiable facts. That's what I'm interested in. So I think a pursuit in that would be, that would be fun.
Mm-hmm. You have drawn some animals, but what's your favorite?
Geez, I love drawing deer. I love drawing little guys, little squirrels. It's funny. I'm working on something, and I'm actually trying to draw. I try to stay away from horses. Horses are a bitch. What else don't I like to draw? That's about it. Horses. I think as long as you don't. And I've drawn horses. When did the last time I drew one for a poster was the Dark Knight I did from Mondo a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that one was that
one
was
had
a slog.
horses in there?
Oh, it had a big horse. It has the Dark Knight himself, Batman on his horse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Dark Knight Returns, the dark Frank Miller story, which is actually, it's funny that you mentioned that we've gotten onto that, because it's a very right wing sort of police state sort of narrative. So I'm a little torn on that now. But Frank seems to be to be coming out of his fog. So. You never know.
Good. I have to say I love your fox in your Frank Lloyd Wright, in your first Frank Lloyd Wright piece.
Oh, I love drawing that fox. That was the first fox, and hopefully, I'd like to draw more foxes.
That's what I'm talking about, because I really love the foxes, especially since I played Ghost of Tsushima, where the commies are, and watching the Green Knight, foxes everywhere.
There we go. Yeah, foxes are a special animal, man.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you,
we have a lot in the neighborhood. In fact, that's one of the reasons that is a true story. That print, it's weird to say that actually happens multiple times where I live. I have a really wooded lot, and we have wildlife coming through. And I'll just go out in the morning, and I'll have a moment with these things, and they'll just checking me out. I'll check them out, and so it was the inspiration for that.
Even in a big city here, we have a bunch of foxes running around. We have
they're everywhere.
If you heard of Berghain, have you heard that one before?
I have heard of it. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the best known clubs or most renowned clubs in Europe, and there's even the Berghain fox, because this is one fox always hanging out there, and it's really funny.
Love foxes. Yeah.
Yep. But
I think we need to put more foxes in things.
I'll take that. What's your favorite seat at a cinema? Like go-to seat.
What a great question, man. That's a great question because that varies, right? I like the rear. I like high. Yeah. I like near the back speakers. I like a lot of bass. So I like some woofers like right there, man. And I don't have to be pressed up against. I don't want to be craning. I don't want to.
Of course,
I don't want to be too close. So yeah, I'm talking maybe 10 from the back. Okay. Middle somewhere. That's usually ideal.
Since my friend, he's a general manager of the local IMAX here, and so I always I ask him because I don't know what the time frame is when the IMAX technician comes and checks on everything, and I always ask, where was the IMAX technician sitting? And that's my seat for the
It's like sitting at the soundboard, right? If you're at a concert.
Exactly. So
right.
Perfect sound, perfect view. So I'll take that. Most of the time, it's around row 5, row 6. That's where the technician does.
That's interesting. Do you know a gentleman named Max Keller, who's a big collector?
I know him.
You know him. He used to work for IMAX.
Yeah.
Worked for years, and he used to be. He's such a good dude.
Yeah.
He used to let us come and take tours of IMAX and sit us in the theater where the director would actually be proofing all the sound choices that they made. And so Christopher Nolan would come into this room in LA, and he would tweak where everything was coming from. And so I saw Dunkirk. I saw the first 20 minutes of that alone with Max in the IMAX theater, and that was probably the most amazing sound experience, sound film experience that I've ever had. It's amazing.
And that's crazy. I mean, the Dunkirk is such a great movie to actually the image and also the sound. I think it's very well done. And I know for a fact because I've been to the London, the BFI IMAX there where they had all the premieres, and they do a lot of Nolan stuff. And Christopher Nolan comes in every time before they show a movie, he comes in and checks out the sound and everything. So he's always there. It's like his cinema, his go-to cinema.
Yeah, he seems like a very hands-on dude.
Yeah,
doesn't seem like he's gonna let everybody else make those decisions.
But then I wonder, why is the sound sometimes inaudible? Like the dialogue.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that was the Tenet complaint, right?
Yeah.
That the audio was so shitty.
Interstellar had the same problem at some point.
I think probably it's like a color proof for an artist, or you're looking at the wrong screen. It might be that he's proofing on equipment that is too good.
Maybe.
I don't know if anybody's forwarded that theory, but that happens all the time in art.
Yeah.
You think something's going to be perfect, and then somebody's got a little shitty screen, or they use the wrong rip program, and all of a sudden you have vastly different imagery. Yeah. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt since I know how meticulous he is.
Yeah,
we have to, right? It's like Downton Kubrick. You have to say he definitely thought of that at some point. There must be some disconnect. Or there's some miscommunication going on. And,
I think
there's signals being lost somewhere.
Most of the time, I didn't have the problem with it. So I mean, some people had that I was with at the cinema, but I didn't have the problem. So I was okay about it. But oh well.
Yeah, I'm sad to say I have not seen it yet in a theater. So I've only heard of the sound issues. Yeah. I can't speak firsthand. It's probably not as bad as.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that later, but I'm going to ask you, where have you been back to the cinema? But we're going to talk about that here in a second. Next one is portrayal landscape.
You know the answer to that. Is that a trick question?
Oh,
landscape.
No, it's
landscape,
not.
It's always landscape for me.
I
dream in landscape. I think in landscape. Yeah.
You have so many portraits as well, so I think it's a valid question.
You got me. You're right. I'm split right down the middle. I'm Gemini, so yeah, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I do the portraits almost to mix up the landscapes. To be honest, most of the time I do picture things widescreen. I picture things landscape, but a portrait can be just as effective. You know, the
I
trick
mean,
is to know which one's going to be more impactful.
looking at the Indiana Jones stuff, I mean, you have portrait stuff basically, and you have landscape stuff. So
That's true. I like them long and large, man. I just like them. You know, you take that out of context, but
yeah.
I just
That's what she said.
I always want more of the image. I always want to expand it out this way, expand it out this way, expand it out this way, expand it out this way. That's basically why I do it. It's really just me wanting to see what's on the other side of the border. You know,
Okay,
I wish it was more deliberate, but it's really just me chasing that dream in my head.
Little follow up on that one. What's your favorite poster size, like measurements?
Oh, 36 by 12, 12 by 36.
All right,
That's probably my favorite.
That's what I'm
I just think that it's such a rich format. You can tell such a story in that format, whether it's from top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right. I remember my friend Daniel, you know him, calls himself Danger.
this guy.
he once we were talking about it, and he just pointed out how uncinematic our normal formats are. You know, we normally like 24 by 36. I mean, 18 by 24 is the shittiest format for like a cinematic image. You know, it's so constrictive, and it feels like, you know, you're looking through a window. It's nice, but the scope of it is so limited there. And I'm always fascinated when someone can really make that, you know, expansive, because it's really tough to work within those dimensions. I cheat. Yeah. I stretch it out, so I'm using cheat codes there, you know.
All good. Almost last one here. Samurai or ninja?
You're gonna have to repeat that one. I'm sorry.
Samurai or ninja?
Oh, ninja.
All right.
Ninja.
Are you
Moving
stealthy?
the shadows. Yeah, stealthy. You know, you don't want to be seen. Get your business done, and you're gone before they even know you're there.
Yeah, are you
ninja
stealthy
all the way, man. I wish I was stealthier, but if I could choose to be one, I would be more stealthy. That's all right. Yeah. That's
I'll take that. And our last one is favorite food or drink?
Favorite food or drink?
Yeah, and drink, not or drink. I'm sorry.
Favorite food and drink. Interesting.
Could be a combo.
God,
that could also be seen
that
separate.
That's a tough one. I'm just a burger dude. I just like a good burger.
What do you put on? What do you put on your burger?
Oh, you put everything on it. You put everything seasonal on there. If you have something in the garden, you throw that on there. You throw horseradish on there. You throw anything that's going to pump that burger up. Tons of lettuce, tons of onions. You know, you want that thing singing by the time you're done with it.
You put coleslaw on it?
Coleslaw, of course, coleslaw. If it's in the fridge, you put it on there. Yeah, at least on the side. And yeah, you can't get too creative burgers. The most creative food, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that.
Awesome. And drink?
Drink.
Can be alcoholic. Doesn't have to be.
Well, you know, I was gonna go there, but if I was really being truthful, and the most motivating thing is pure Colombian caffeinated goodness, just mainlining coffee. You know, I've gotten rid of some of the cream, some of the sugar.
That's how you stay
gotten
up?
down to the bean itself, and you know, you can't take that for granted, man. That's like the manna of the earth right there. So yeah. Coffee. I got to go coffee.
Okay, is that coffee right now, or?
It might be, as far as you know. It's a coffee cup.
I mean, you've been up, so coffee is helpful, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, it never hurts to have a few before a podcast. Loosen the lips, loosen the tongue.
That's right. Alrighty. Those are 10 items. And
that went too quick.
But no, you're not too quick. This should actually be a speed run. It should have been shorter, actually. But I don't want to stop the people talking and having this great story. So
I'm a serial digressor, so I apologize, man.
It's all good.
You're gonna have to move me along.
That's. I think that makes it the podcast interesting. So
I hope so. We'll hear from the people.
Definitely. I have no doubt in my mind. Next up is my little the posters I really like to talk about, and I cheated here a little bit because there are too many to choose from. So I just picked. Obviously, I have to say these are my favorites. I mean, you have so many good ones, but these are my favorites because they are very
thank you, man. That's
dear to
very
me,
kind.
and they are up on my wall. And the third one is coming; it's already ordered, and it's the Frank Lloyd Wright series. And I want to talk about
thanks, man.
this one. Let me know what's the story behind them. How did you make it happen? How did these beautiful animals get there, or not?
The Smith house. If you've noticed, I don't go for the big structures. There's a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright stuff that's very grand. It almost screams, "I'm a great architect. Look at all what I can do."
Yeah.
And I don't think that's really where Wright shined. He's great. He's got some brutalist structures, some conventional structures, but when his Usonian structures are what I'm drawn to, and I don't know. I've tried to explain that to people when I release these. Is Usonian is true it's designed for the people. It's designed for the middle class. Somebody can afford these. In fact, they're still relatively affordable. You can buy these things. They're not millions of dollars sometimes.
I would move in. I mean, that's my kind of style. I like this one.
Of course, man. Some of these come up and they're I saw one of them was $600,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's not crazy money.
It's not crazy. Of course not.
No, and when you think about like how important some of these structures are, I mean, these were really. If we're talking Germany, we're talking like this is the Volkswagen. This is like something that's supposed to be really high quality, but people aren't going to get bankrupted by it. It's something that
it's a house for the people.
Yeah, it's form and function all together in one. It's economy, and that's what Frank Lloyd Wright to me is he's someone that boiled down his design, which was really complex in some of his structures, but then he almost stripped everything away that he didn't need. And for these Usonian structures, they're so beautiful in their simplicity, and that's why I chose the Smith house. That's why I did the Walker house. They're all very similar. They're just one-story structures. They're meant to have just a regular family, and there's nothing that's wasted.
Yeah, I love the Walker house. I mean, with the water right by it. I mean, it looks so beautiful. Looks like a ship even from the side. Looking at it.
It was designed. You nailed it, man. That's what it was built. It was built to resemble the prow of a ship. If you look from the aerial view, it absolutely is. And that's another thing that the Usonian structures, I think, almost the grand structures are so grand they almost overwhelm the landscape in a lot of ways. But the Usonian structures, they're like hobbit holes, man. They blend so seamlessly into the landscape. I want to live in a hobbit hole. I've always wanted to. That's one of my dreams. And when I look at a Usonian structure, that thing it's almost invisible. It's part of the landscape. It's part of the environment. You're not supposed to distinguish between the interior and the exterior.
Yeah.
And
was that one of the ones you drew was one of them for sale or some other ones?
There's been a few of them. None of the ones that I've done have been for sale.
We just had the podcast on it with Ken and Rory.
Oh, yes.
And Rory said he's going for he wants to do the Guggenheim next since he did the Telson.
I actually saw that. Rory's an unbelievable illustrator. I know Rory, great guy. And I think that fits his style perfectly because he's done relatively intimate scenes so far.
Yeah.
I mean, his Thousand, the last one, I was blown away by that one. He really chose an intimate sunset scene. You could almost feel, I mean, you could feel the desert in that one. That one was, I was really impressed by that one. But yeah, his style, he can do anything. He can go for the grand structures or the minimalist structures. Yeah, and I'd love to see his take on the Guggenheim, because that's one that you could. I never get sick of people tackling that one. I mean, you could do that in a myriad of styles, and I'd still dig it.
I love the new D'Anthony letterpress that they did.
Oh, I saw that one as well. Yeah, the really minimalist.
I think this one is, but I think this one is not for sale yet. I just showed it on a podcast, and Ken told us on the podcast that it was only for sale in terms of like later on as a letterpress, not as a giclée or anything. So, and he's doing all that, but you couldn't buy it yet. I think so. Might be at a later point.
Probably want to. The letterpresses are so tricky to really get right. I'm sure he just probably wants to have them in hand before he gets people.
Exactly.
Because you brought up a great thing. If you want to talk about Ken is one of my favorite dudes.
He is the best.
I haven't done a ton of work with Ken, but I've known him for a long time. We've hung out, and just a great guy. And he's one of these dudes that is in this for the right reason. I'm sure you've seen it. You've been in this long enough, 5 years, to see people come, people go, gallery owners come.
Yep.
People trying to get into this niche and that niche. Ken is someone that has such a breadth of knowledge about the art world. And he's expanding Spoke right now. He's doing fine art. He's doing Art Basel. He's doing, he does the pop culture stuff. Yeah. And he is really a good curator. He's really into this. He doesn't see dollar signs.
Yeah, he's such a good guy. I have to say, since there are not that many, I told him that as well in the last podcast, since there are not that many shows here in Europe when it comes to the poster and printing scene in terms of the pop culture stuff and the stuff I like, it was actually my actual first show was with Ken at Hashimoto in New York when I went to for vacation to New York. And then
oh, so you actually got to go to the gallery?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And that was the first Frank Lloyd Wright show, and I had to get them all because I'm a big Frank Lloyd Wright fan.
Did you meet him at the time, or
what's that?
Did you meet him at the time?
Yeah. We met, we talked. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, he's just a great guy, and when you meet somebody like that, there are a lot of people that just want to get in and out of this. Yeah. They want to make quick buck, leverage that little property they bought, and they're out. And they got there, so fuck everybody else. And Ken is one of the good guys. And I encourage any artist, never hesitate to work with Ken or Spoke. He's just one of the good ones. And he's got some great stuff planned, and I can't wait to work with him in the future. And it's one of those things that there's a lot of sameness out there, right? There's a lot of galleries doing the same thing as other galleries, the same series you see, same properties. And with Spoke, you're going to see a lot of things that is going to open you up to different genres and different subcultures. And that's what's so important. It's important to grow this stuff. Yeah. It's important to bring in new fans, new people to appreciate it, because, a lot of this stuff, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but a lot of this stuff comes from the lowbrow art world, where lowbrow really means disrespected. It really means like sort of on the fringe, like people really don't consider it high art.
Yeah.
And, it is a lot of the times it does bridge that gap, and it becomes something that's real. And Ken is one of those guys that's bridging that gap and sort of making people look at, maybe pop culture stuff that they dismissed in a different light, and contextualizing this stuff,
Yeah, that's what I always try to do as well with like I'm hosting a sneak preview here at the local cinema, and always try to because like this thing, if you collect posters, people think like you collect like, I don't know, the brand new Marvel poster, and and for example, when it comes to I'm just gonna call them in quotes here, regular people that maybe don't go
normies deep. Is not a favor. That's like a slur now if you call them normies.
Yeah, it's and saying that like I had like the scenes where couples actually like say yeah, you can't hang those posters here. They're comic book posters. You can't put them up here. And like for movies and like this is nothing. It's not sophisticated enough. But then I introduced them to, hey, this is the same kind of stuff you like, but your girlfriend or your wife wants maybe something more sophisticated. How about we combine these two with like actual artwork? But just do that, and then then have the compromise there.
Oh, sorry, buddy. But people forget that a lot of the art that they hold dear, that they think is so highbrow, was a part of pop culture, but you're missing the context for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So people are traditionalists in the art world are really one of those things that everybody's got to deal with. But if you're not growing in the art world, then you're dying. You have to expand. You have to mash this stuff up. Yeah. I'm always interested in new mediums. That's why I don't even want to say the word NFT, but digital art is a thing, perfectly valid form of expression. I think going forward, all we have to do is just make sure people know what they're looking at. If we're talking digital, we know it's digital. If we're talking this, if a computer rendered it, we know what that is. As long as that sort of disclosure and everybody knows what they're actually being presented with, I think this stuff can really. I've seen it grow, and I mean, I've been doing it for over a decade now, the pop culture stuff, and I've seen it grow people just respect it more. I mean, it's really, it's the most democratic part of art. I mean, art can be so exclusive. You talk about elitist, and you talk about these like closed off subcultures. The fine art world, or the abstract art world, and all these things, and largely it's inaccessible to people. And the one thing I love about lowbrow art that I'll always champion is it invites you in and says, come on, it's community. This is for everybody. And it's relatively affordable, all these other things that
exactly
democratize these things. And we were talking about this before we went on air. I mean, democracy in every form is important. And we have to make sure that, just like we were talking about Usonian, design is meant for the masses, and I don't want to participate in stuff that is too exclusive. It always has turned me off.
That sounds very good, because that's what the people want to hear, to everybody that can have a piece of J.C. Richards' art.
I hope so. If I knew a way to get it to everybody without pissing everybody off, that's probably the toughest thing. Yeah. And this is it's a completely different question, but where do you reach the threshold of being too exclusive and being desirable versus being democratic and being too common?
I wonder if I don't know, because I don't know. I know some people have problems with timed editions, but I think that's the most the best way to go for that. There is a certain amount of, there could be more than a limited run, obviously, but all the people have the chance. I mean, you could even to keep it small. It doesn't have to be like, I don't know, a week or over the weekend. You could do, which I found really interesting, like the 1 hour timed edition. Have it very limited, but everybody can get it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily love the week-long ones. It seems like
neither.
Yeah, that seems like a little long. Like, you want me to give you a little dirty little secret in the poster world?
Let's hear it.
Lean in close, everybody. Come on. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Most posters are sold within the first few hours of a drop. I don't care who you are. That is the reality of the limited lowbrow poster world.
It is.
I've been in it long enough and seen enough drops. That is a reality of it. And so if There are certain images and there are certain releases that absolutely demand a longer time period, but most of them you keep it nice and tight. That's why I don't even mind variants. I like a timed, regular, limited variant.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's the best way to do it. We're talking democracy, most democratic way. People that want the time can get the timed. People that want something exclusive, so they can say to their buddy, "I have something that you don't." Nah. That's important for the subculture too. Everybody loves that. A little bit of FOMO. Keeps things healthy. But you have to have a balance. I'm going to use that word again. Balance is always important in every subculture. You get too righteous, you get too the subcultures, they develop rules, they develop red tape, and all of a sudden you're mired in a almost like an establishment infrastructure.
Uh-huh.
And so you constantly, especially with something like the lowbrow art world, you constantly have to fuck that stuff up. You constantly have to be messing with that and trying new things. Like timed editions are great because they really do tell you like true demand.
Yeah.
So many people that manipulate demand and sort of this artificial scarcity thing that we're talking about. And, timed edition will tell you truly, this is how many people want this poster. I'm not cutting anybody off. I'm not telling anybody they can't buy it because they didn't get up at 3:00 in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it's always a tough choice, and I wonder sometimes what the problem is if there couldn't be like always a timed edition of anything. I mean, I get the scarcity and like having like a higher value on things, but I think, I wonder at least in my mind, that if I don't know if the money is right, in the end I think the gallery makes a lot of money, but I think the artist as well. So I don't know why it's not a good thing to do that. I think it's you make more, at least I would say you make more money than just selling the limited edition.
If you ever question why something happens, the answer it is always money, man. If you're like, why the hell? I can't fathom why that happens. 99% of the time, the answer is money.
I don't know. I don't know. We don't want to name galleries or anything, but on your experience, would you
Let's
say?
Name them. Come on, name them.
No. We're just gonna keep it free here. Not gonna kill anybody here.
I would love to name them. I would love to start. We'll do that after. We'll name them.
Yeah, that's what we do. And but like doesn't it make sense to have like a timed edition? I don't know. You maybe instead of like the 200, like the limited edition of 200, if you would sell like 348 as a timed edition, wouldn't you make more money in the end? Or like
yeah. You're also. I see the logic in that.
The printing cost goes down, obviously, since you do more.
A lot of the times, yeah. I think. All right, I'm going to amend my previous statement. I said that most things are money. I'm going to amend it. It's two things: money, i.e., ego. Yeah. The ego is also going to come into there. Okay. That's probably why you're not seeing timed editions. People. Okay. There are some artists that just want to set their quantity and be done with it, and a timed edition almost seems too available. And I think that's probably why it doesn't do it. They want to make their 50, they want to make their 100, because they know 1,000 people are going for that 200, and that's going to look great. And that means that the secondary market's going to look good. That's something that artists do keep an eye on. More artists than you probably, would admit it. They do watch their secondary, and they do manipulate their secondary. Mm-hmm. And if they say they don't, then
I have to say, I think I work with Vice Press, and I know them very well. But I think their idea of they have those limited runs, obviously, but they also have the open editions, where you can always order from, and just get your edition. I mean, it's most of the time it's just a lithograph, not as like a screen print or anything. But I think that's an option, and the artwork still looks great on litho. I mean, it's not like you get like bad art, And
I think that's not a bad thing to do, because it helps the artist too. A lot of the times a limited edition is going to help the gallery. It's going to help people that are selling it short term, but the artist in the long term really is hurt by a lot of limited editions.
Yeah.
If they have a real strong image, and you're going to sign contracts that sometimes the image will be popular because of its scarcity.
Yeah.
And that's a reality. But if you're talking about just the quality of the image and an image that is very desirable, if you limit it too much, it's always going to hurt the artist.
Yeah.
I think collectors definitely can discern between just getting the image up on their wall versus something that, I'm going to give you a special edition of this. And you've been collecting these things long enough to know that you can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
It is tough to determine which images that's really the trick, is sort of calling your quantities, understanding your market, understanding how many collectors are going to want something. And you don't want something to be so common that it is seen as pedestrian, it is seen as disposable. So that's where I think a lot of the lack of timed editions comes from, is they're worried that if they put too much out there in the world, their secondary will not look good because there'll be a glut of product and their future releases will be hurt by that.
But the thing is, in the end, with the secondary market, I mean, it comes the poster market is such a niche in terms of like the community and everything, that there are other people. I mean, I have friends, they don't like, when they come to my place, they're like, oh my god, you got, it's like a museum, blah 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 blah, and it's they really love that, but they don't have any clue about the scene. They would never get a Mondo print. Not even a million years. They didn't even know. First of all, they don't even know where to look, and if they look for, I don't know, if they look for a print, they might find even some shady Etsy pages or whatever who do reprints like in a shitty quality, and then they put these up on the wall. And I think if you have a time edition,
that's a great point with the bootlegging and the Etsy issue. I actually just opened an Etsy page. It's funny you mentioned that. I just opened an Etsy page, not because I want an Etsy page, okay? No, not a good idea. No, we're not going to do it. I just wanted something on Etsy to say, this is where these images come from, because I know people have been bootlegging my images on there and selling, they'll put it on a pillow or put it on a phone case or whatever the hell that whole thing happens. I've been really not paying attention to that. I probably should pay attention more to that, because it does suck some customers out. It does sort of bleed some money off of people that would normally be buying my things. Yeah. At the same time, my biggest concern is not that I'm losing the business. It's that people are getting a substandard product. Yeah. They're probably getting a blurry scan of something. They're probably getting something that doesn't represent what I initially released. Yeah. That's what I worry about. I don't really worry about the fact that they're getting something cheap. I hope they get it cheap. I hope they can. I hope somebody can get my Jurassic Park for $10 off eBay. I would be thrilled if somebody could do that. Like, honest to God, I really hate the fact that some people have to pay crazy money to get images that they love. That's not something I relish. And that's why when we're talking about, giving people alternatives into the medium, like, you can give them a cheap litho, and that will be fine for like 80% of the people. They'll be fine with that. They'll just put it up on their wall and they'll be happy, and they'll show their friends, and they can crumple it up, they can fold it, they can tack it to a wall. And then I think that stuff actually makes that screen print more desirable, because people will look at that art, people that aren't in the subculture will say, wow, where'd that come from? And they'll say, there's actually even a nicer print of that. And they'll maybe Google it and sort of go down this rabbit hole that we've all gone down. And if
it's really special, they would acquire
it. Like any good subculture, we need fresh blood, right? We need people coming in. We need new devotees, and I think that's going to do nothing but grow what we love.
Yeah.
And so I'm all for it, man. The democracy. We're going to go back to democracy, man. Democracy. We're going to,
That's
you
our
know,
top
it's
theme of the podcast.
it really. I've been thinking about it a lot, so
All good, all
I
good.
appreciate you. It's. I think it's so important in art. It's something that art is really. It's really communication, especially pop culture art. We're just
Yeah.
sharing our love of things together. I'm just telling you that I'm your people. You're my people. I have something in common. And in a world where we're so polarized and so divided on things like I don't believe in that, or I do this for a living and I can't relate to them. I just love the fact that we can relate to so much together in this subculture. And that's what I want to foster. And if you can get more art out there, as long as people know what's being printed, as long as people know what, the quantities are really important to collectors. I think disclosure, as long as you have that, everything's fair game.
Yeah. That's I'm going along with that, and that was a good point. And I will move on a little bit here. And since we talked about the Jurassic Park poster, that was my next one. I wanted to talk about this one.
Talking point number 2. I'm so sorry. We've digressed so far.
It's all good. It's all good. You can break the record here. It can happen, people.
I warned you at the beginning, man.
But yeah,
you get me on 2 hours up. I'm unpredictable.
Let's talk about some Jurassic Park. How did this happen? What's it all about?
Oh, Jurassic Park. One of the best movies ever made. When Rob Jones, that was the first Mondo poster I ever did, and who's a great friend of mine now, the best art director in the biz, by the way. If there's anything that makes Mondo special, it's their curation. Mitch, Eric, and Rob, more than any other gallery out there, and I'll say this to my grave, that's what really sets them apart, is the fact that they really want something special. I've seen them trash designs that other galleries would print 1,000 of and make bank off of, but they just don't feel it. It's and Jurassic Park was one of those things that they put a great trust in me, and luckily I was able to just. I mean, John Alvin was a huge inspiration in that, where he reimagined a lot of, like, Struzan is very much more of a collage artist, and then you have artists that attack things more from an environmental point of view or a landscape point of view, and I've always sort of approached things like that. And the minute they gave me Jurassic Park, I just wanted to approach it in more of a landscape, just immerse you in the actual setting of the movie. Yeah. And it's one of those things that I still would like to revisit. The fact that it was my first poster is kind of amazing, because that's one of those properties that people have done so much for, and I still think it's so much love, right? I think it's still underrepresented. I mean, I could see 50 Jurassic Park posters, and I would probably like every single one of them. Yeah. I mean, that's just it's such a world that I want to exist in, and I mean, we were talking about Hawaii earlier. Yeah. I mean, you're talking back of Hawaii dinosaurs. I mean, you can't. I mean, that's fish in a barrel, So, the one thing that I regret is I haven't gone back to it. Like, I'd love to do more Jurassic stuff and more dinosaur stuff.
How much of a pain in the ass was it to draw all the foliage?
That one was a pleasure. That was a pleasure, man. Okay. That was really a pleasure. It's really abstract. If you look at the foliage in that, it's really, I didn't use a lot of line art, and I didn't use a lot of, that's really painterly. It was the first, the thing about Jurassic Park, it was the first time that I understood that you could use the screen print medium and really make painterly posters.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I was always I had done screen prints, but I'd always done them more in discernible layers, in like foreground, midground, background,
Yeah.
and you could. It was really set apart, like you were putting together a Lego set. Jurassic Park was the first time where I was like, I'm just going to paint this like conventional, like I'm using acrylics or I'm using oils, and try to use all these blends. And to be honest, without the great printers we have, D&L, screen printing, and a few other great houses that can get that kind of detail. I mean, that just wasn't. It kind of wasn't possible before then. It was sort of like the technology had sort of caught up to it, and the way they burn the screens and the way they could actually, push. Screen prints are such an interesting medium. There's two forms of art with the screen print. Okay, you're creating.
JC, one second. You keep talking. Sure. I just have to use some nose spray. I'm dying over here.
Absolutely, man. I could talk. I'll talk forever. There's two forms of art there that you're talking about. You're talking about creating the image, and then you're talking about transferring the image onto the screen and onto the paper. So the fact that they can get that detail of a brushstroke, at that resolution, and get that to translate through a screen onto that paper is something that I think is, it's made great strides in the past couple decades. Like you see a lot of screen print artists, a lot of screen print art used to be very much, almost like a vector image where you'd have to have hard transitions, and you couldn't have that smooth gradients that you'd normally see in like an offset or a lithograph. And what I realized with that Jurassic Park poster was that I could actually use these transitions and get a more painterly feel out of them. So that's why that image is so important to me, is like, I was like, oh, I can do this. It was like a proof of concept. And then everything I did after that for the next almost decade was based on the lessons that I learned by making that poster.
All right. That sounds great. I mean, it's a great poster. And yeah, if you get it for $10 off eBay, I applaud you people.
God, I'd love it. I'd love one for $10. I do not own. I own a art print version, but I do not own the title print version.
Okay, people, if you have a title print version, get this man his print back.
Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah, I'll make it worth your while.
Exactly. This man got a piece.
I have a lot.
Yeah. And there's this one little movie that you've done a lot of work for, which is Jaws, obviously.
Never
so
heard
many
of it.
different ones. Let's talk about all of them. Where does the love come from? What's all that is behind this? I mean, we have the Amityville 74. We have the beach version with the huts, which is really great. We have the chase, the departure, and even like these was it handbills? I think you did for like the.
I think I'm up to about a dozen handbills at the moment.
Yeah, so
I got to release soon, but yeah, the handbills are a big part of the ME74 thing that I'm doing.
Yeah, what's the story behind it? Is it the area you come from?
It's got a lot to do with that. I grew up in coastal New England. I could take you down to the beach in about, we can be there in about 5 minutes if I walk down the street.
Uh-huh.
There is definitely that sort of nautical, affinity, and but really it's that movie, man. That is one of those films that, for instance, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and it is her favorite movie. It is her friend's favorite movie.
Okay.
It is
good job,
something
Dad.
that I've gone. I can't take credit for it. I've gone around world. I've been every convention I've been to. I can talk with every race, creed, color, age. There is something about that movie that bridges every demographic that you can think of. It's really unique. Star Wars is sort of like that, but Star Wars is still, you have to be into sci-fi. You have to be, it requires a certain, you have to be into certain genres and certain types of movies. Jaws is one of those ones that can hop up on somebody that it can just surprise you. I've seen grandmothers just be riveted by, toddlers be riveted by that movie. There's something very pure about it. We talked about simplicity earlier. I think, the whole shark not working, paring it down to nothing but, anticipation, that sort of mood that he sets, that anxiety you feel when you watch it. That's important. I think it's just, it encompasses cinema. If I had to show an alien, and they didn't know what a movie was, and I had to say, this is a form of expression we use on Earth, and we tell stories, I would probably go for Jaws and give them Jaws, because every single emotion, every single narrative trick you can pull, Spielberg pulled it in that one. And the visuals happen to be stunning.
Do you have a favorite of yours that you say, I think this is my favorite, or maybe not ever, but maybe right now?
I think the favorite so far is The Beach.
I love The Beach as well.
The only reason why is because I didn't put a shark in it. And people have asked, why, where's the shark? And I'm like, you're looking through the shark's eyes. Like, you're literally, like, it's the closest to Jaws I can get. There's so many POV.
It's the view without faces.
Well, yeah, he's just looking at the meat sticks on the beach. You're just seeing Bruce just seeing what he's going to eat for dinner right there. Yeah. I mean, that's how a shark views, and that's what Jaws is. I mean, how many points of view from the shark do you get in that movie? I think that's the strength of that.
I have to say, I don't know. Have you seen the Flory's Jaws? Flory, the Australian artist.
Was that a bottleneck one?
I think yeah. It's the one where you can, with basically the same image, but where you can see the shark from behind.
Yeah, somebody actually showed me that, because the beach was very similar, and he had Brody very similar in the thing, which was really what I think I did unique about it, was make it about that moment when you're looking at the beach and you see the Kittner boy on just getting ready to go out with his. The most important part of the Amity 74 thing is the exercise is, how can I tell the Jaws story within these landscape prints without any text? And somebody nailed it the other day when I released the Out to Sea one, which, by the way, if you're waiting for the Out to Sea, the reprints are in. I'm going to make a public announcement right now. Reprints are in. Shipping will start. I had to reprint that one. It's taken longer than any print I've ever done, because it had to be right, and I appreciate everybody's patience. But the thing about the Amity 74 series, if you've looked at it, I was always fascinated as a child by the picture books that you'd see based on the movies, and you would get very little text, very little dialogue, but they just show you the visuals, and you get those nice widescreen things. So if you look at the Amity 74 series, it's basically just trying to tell the Jaws story. And if you go through the soundtrack titles, you'll see that most of the soundtrack titles are directly tied to the releases. So I'm going through the soundtrack and trying to hit the same beats that the story is hitting. But eventually we could probably bind these and put them into a picture book, and you'd be able to go from, Chrissy on the beach at the beginning, and you go all the way to paddling back to the beach at the end of the movie. So if that gives you any sense of what's going to be coming, I'm just trying to tell the story in sort of that sort of National Geographic, sort of our
our world, those old books that you used to get in that way, and get rid of all the dialogue, all the, the narratives, just show you.
So how many are they going to be there?
It's like 12 vignettes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How many? So how many are you going to do in the future?
Probably going to do, at this point, how many have I done? 6. I think I'm up to 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to do about a clean dozen. So probably another couple.
So it's going to be a long tapestry.
Yeah, it'll be a little slog.
That tells the whole story, so you can, like, from left to right watch Jaws.
Hopefully we'll be able to put all these, in sequence, and you'll see, the beginning of those kids partying and having a good time to, when finally we have some closure and they're paddling up to the beach and everything's cool.
Exactly. Alrighty, so that was really interesting. I mean, we touched a lot of topics here, but let's get a little more personal and a little bit back in history here. And how did you become an artist? I mean, did you go to university? Did you study? Where and how and what is the story behind that?
Interesting. I didn't go to school for art. Never studied art. It was always something I could do. I'm the kind of kid that would.
Some people just have it.
I made my first $1 drawing football helmets for my classmates, actually. I used to charge them $1 a piece, and I'd make you your favorite helmet and put your favorite logo on there.
Is that offer still valuable?
Sure, man. We'll talk off camera. We always up for a commission. But yeah, I always saw some. It's funny because that's how I always saw art. I always saw it as a very practical thing, something to gain a little cachet, something that not everybody could do. But like everybody else, I never saw that I could make any real money from it. And I was always told that I'd be poor. I was always told that, if
cliche.
You have to have a backup. You have to make sure that, something can pay the bills. And to be honest, that's good advice. Anybody that's watching this, I'm not going to dispute that advice. It's tough to draw and make a living, or to do any kind of art and make a living. It is. But there are a lot more opportunities, like what I'm doing right now. I've said this before, but, with technology, a lot of these things, my job didn't really exist. I couldn't sell online 20 years ago. I couldn't have an online fan base that would be basically what would amount to, if I was working in the 1600s, they would be my patrons. People that I'd go around, in the town I lived in, and they would be, supporting my efforts to like make some art for them. And that's the true thing I discovered was when I got, I did a lot of commercial art. I was a 3D artist for years. Okay. That was how I got my start in art. I did a lot of texture work. Have you ever heard of Babylon 5?
Of course.
Deep Space Nine. They were all those effects were done by a company called Foundation. And they were out of LA in the late 90s. And just out of college, I got hooked up with them. And I did, if you saw like a Minbari ship in Babylon 5, like I used to do a lot of texture work, and I would basically paint the spaceships and do the nebulas. And I got really into the 3D world. And then that whole industry around 2000, you're probably too young to remember this. This whole thing crashed.
I'm 35. I'm 35. It's all good.
So do you remember the crash around like 1999, 2000, 2001? It was a huge tech crash that took a lot of these 3D houses with it. Foundation went out of business. You just couldn't make you couldn't make a living doing this. And Sierra Games, a lot of LA-based companies. Yeah. And when that was how I was making a living. I was basically doing 3D for
did
sci-fi
you live out
productions.
there then as well, or
Sorry?
did you live out there as well then at that point?
It's funny I was just going to mention when I was going to relocate, that was when everything went south. I had already gotten a job. I had been doing business with them for a few months. I was just about to relocate, and everything crashed, and everything Foundation went out of business. Everything got decimated at the time, and then 2001 happened, and then things didn't really come back until about 2010. But when that whole thing went south, I basically needed a new gig. I was trying to find new avenues to make money from art, and I got hooked up with some graphic design jobs. I took some, conventional advertising jobs, things like that, doing, brand management and all that boring stuff. And then started taking commissions and started really getting into sort of the local art scene, which was very much nature-based, which is why you see a lot of stuff is nautical, a lot of nature scenes. That's how I approach a lot of things, because I realized that all I was doing was basically doing what I was doing in 3D, but just in 2D. I was creating these set pieces. Yeah. And it's a short leap to going like, I love that movie, I'm going to create that set piece and maybe just, maybe approach that in a way that people haven't approached it before. Almost like, if I had to describe my approach to doing the pop culture stuff and how I initially got into it was, what haven't I seen in the one sheets? Like they're showing me like the action scenes. They're showing me the quotes that are like, with the music that's like going to be the log lines or whatever. Yeah. But quiet scenes are always the ones that stick with you when you're watching the movies. And I never really, when you're looking back at like Jurassic Park, we'll use that one. The impact of that scene of the movie, really what I thought back to was the human connection between the dinosaur and the characters. So once you like, all right, that's the important part of that movie to me. No one's actually gone for that angle before. Like they're worried about the T-Rex attacking, the Jeep or whatever, the bombastic scenes. But a lot of the impact from these stories happens in these quiet moments that aren't necessarily quote unquote cinematic, or they're not the ones you first think of, and they're underrepresented. And when I came into the poster world, it was like you're seeing a lot of the main actors and talking heads, and you're seeing what the advertising wants to see you, but you're really not getting a sense of what this movie's about, what this movie's going to make. That's what I think the power of the alternative poster movement is. And that's why it's funny, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's like the conventional poster world is sort of creeping into the alternative poster world at this point.
Yeah, they do. It's
going long enough so that I think people sort of forget why we went into the alternative poster world to begin with. Is we didn't want these floating heads. We didn't want these conventional copying the standard, ad agency poster that they're going to, focus group to death. And you're going to see something, just a bunch of stills and something that leaves you cold, that you don't know what you're really looking at. And I think that's, that was my education, was like realizing that like that's an untapped market. Like I want to see something on my wall that, and this, you got to realize this is 12 years ago that I started doing this. There's a lot of water under the bridge there, that we've seen a lot of this stuff actually happen, where people have taken that sort of point of view and said, I'm going to attack these quieter moments, or these more impactful moments, these more personal moments, other than what's going to sell it to the masses, because that's what a studio poster is going to do. And that sometimes they do it great. That's what those posters are supposed to do. They're supposed to sell to the most amount of people.
Have you seen the Martin Anson poster that was basically as one copy for the Game of Thrones one he did 10 years ago? And
I remember everything Martin's done. Yeah. He's one of my favorite artists in the world. Awesome. He's also a good friend. He's one of the best humans that you'll ever meet. Unfortunately, he lives in South America, so to get up here is really tough. Yeah. He made the first 2 MondoCons and then couldn't make the last one. He made one where the poor dude was so sick. Martin is a great example of that. He approaches things from such a unique point of view where he's not concerned about what. See, the great part about doing this is that, and it's kind of strange because there's galleries that do different things. Some galleries just go by assets, right? Yeah. Some galleries are really concerned about, I just want to get this merch out there. I want to get it out there as fast as I can. I want to get as many pieces out there as I can. Some galleries, like Mondo especially, are like, how can we make this piece something that people talk about for 10 years? How can we make this like...
But do you think do you think there's a leeway when it comes to, like, I don't know, because I have a feeling sometimes, because Mondo, they have been the big hit, they've been doing things differently, that they have more leeway with the studio if instead of another gallery that comes and says, hey, could we do that? And they were like, I don't know, the people that sign off on things, you know?
That's interesting. I never really thought about it, but you could be right. I don't know that whether or not.
Because I know that there are studios that basically have that, like from like James, my co-host, was doing the release podcast with me. He has his gallery, More Art Gallery, and I know from him that there are studios who like they had great ideas and they're sort of like, nah, that's too far away from the assets we gave you, so please go back to the assets.
I think you're right. I think stuff has tightened up in the past few years because so many other the glut of alternative releases has definitely increased, and I think that's made some studios be more conservative, because before, if we were just talking about 1 or 2 companies that are coming with alternative designs, it's a lot easier for them to process that and say that's acceptable to have that out there because we have all this stuff that's studio approved and really, you know, and focus grouped, and this is exactly the message we want to send. But we're going, I think where Mondo really made their, and not just them, but where they made their mark was the advertising agencies would use them to hit the demographics that they couldn't hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
They knew there was a subculture there that their conventional advertising wasn't hitting. You know, they couldn't reach there. They were either too cynical or they just would just not pay attention to that stuff. So that's where Mondo, I think, really made their impact in, like, we can sort of mainline the message that you want to reach these people with, but we know how to reach them. And we know what they want to see.
And since they they're working with Neon and A24, kind of like those kind of type of movies that are like on the verge to be not blockbuster, but like really popular, but still indie, and they have a lot of leeway with that. And I think the movie or the idea or what's behind those movies is reflected by this kind of alternative movie poster scene very well. So I think that goes hand in hand right there.
I think you're right. I think there's certain movies that definitely benefit from it more than others. I mean, the big tentpole releases, especially like the Marvel stuff, is going to be less. You know, an alternative poster campaign will be way less impactful on that fan base because it's just the subject matter is more mainstream.
Yeah, but I think with the Martin Anson I was mentioning, there is the Game of Thrones one, and The Last Duel copied the poster basically 1-to-1. There was like this issue. I don't know. The Martin Anson didn't get a credit, but they obviously changed like the heads and everything. But the position of the swords, even the swords almost look the same, and like the heads are in the same position and everything. Like the whole concept is the same. even colors are almost the same. And it's like crazy that they use that. And I mean, there's nothing he can do about it, I guess, but it's still crazy.
Yeah, I've seen that happen multiple times. I think that's really it's just part of the game. It's really, it's a contact sport. We're a cup sort of thing. It's like,
I know, but
you have.
But the thing is, like, you know, if you would do it the other way around and like, I don't know, like take from the property, from the IP, basically, hey, this is inspired by piece, they're gonna get, cease and desist. Please don't sell it anymore.
It's that's not an endorsement, believe me.
I know, it's like, just, I don't know, but it's like so hypocritical, you know.
It's a David and Goliath thing. Yeah, it really is. They know they can take it, so they do, you know, and
I think it's not, I don't think it's like the people on the higher ups on the marketing. That's definitely not what it is. I think it's more like I don't know, the intern who thought maybe that he could get away in the agency, who was doing that and just showed it. Oh, that's great, that's amazing, let's do this, because they have never probably seen Martin Anson's Game of Thrones poster. So, and I think, why would this dude who knows probably what's up do that?
Yeah, I think the last part of that statement is why this happens is they don't know who he is, and they don't give a shit who he is. They don't even know what the campaign is. They just know that they're legally allowed because he had to license it. And there might even be something in the licensing agreement that says we can use part of your design going forward. Not always like that, but that does happen. And when you're working with these IPs, especially the bigger ones, I mean, I work for Disney, and I do work for a lot of big companies, and it's just part of the game. It's part of the deal. You know that you're sort of contributing to a pool of creativity here. And once you pour your cup into that pool, what was in your cup becomes part of the whole. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You're no longer have something discernible. It all kind of goes into the big witch's brew that is that IP. And that's part of just being a commercial artist, really. That's part of, you have to separate that part. There will be times when you have to look at that as almost flattering. Like they probably paid someone tens of thousands of dollars and they had to copy me. You know, and that's one of those things that it could depress you, or it could make you think, wow, make you feel like a badass. I mean,
I know,
but
wow doesn't feed the family, you know.
I mean, that's true, but if you get that kind of notoriety,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
You're making you're having that influence on that IP, then you can leverage that into something. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's always this debate on upfront money and how much you're getting paid versus how much you're getting on the back end, how much you can get from APs, how much you can get a percentage of something. That's always going to be tough to talk about because there's so many. Because this isn't like doing. It's not like teaching. It's not like going to HR and being, you know, I know I'm getting paid the same as the person that's working next to me. Artists have vastly different deals with different companies and what they get paid and all that. That shit'll make you crazy.
There should be a union.
Well, that's the thing, is there's no protection. The only value you have is how you value yourself, right? And that's a really tricky thing.
It is.
That's indeed. That's a really tough thing to deal with, is someone that, like you said, has to pay a mortgage and has to feed their kids and has to, you know, make real money. If you're working for these properties and you're doing it the right way, you're going to gain enough notoriety so you can probably make more money if you then leverage that than you would if you got the money up front and, you know, had to pay, you know, had to do everything else on it. And then I think there's an advantage as well as a disadvantage to being that sort of independent contractor that you're talking about. it's just all about the individual artist. Some artists are really good at leveraging that shit and really good at making a living based on their reputation. I worked on that, so you buy this, or you're going to get into this because I did the latest, Fish poster. I did a Metallica poster, and you're going to know from that. So you're going to be interested in my work, and then I can sell more of my personal work.
That's true.
I mean, it's unquantifiable and it's frustrating because people that work real jobs, I'm going to call them real jobs because I don't think what I do is a real job. It
is. Don't worry.
But it's real. Like you said, I can't quantify. I can't teach somebody to do what I do because they'd be like, "You're crazy. How do you quantify that?" And I'd be like, "Because you're in it long enough to know what works and know what your patrons want, know what your customers want, know what properties work, and you get a certain amount of commissions that'll float you." I'll do as much commercial work as I can so that I'll have free time to do that stuff, so I don't have to worry so much about the return on it.
Yeah.
And I'll do jobs that will just give me that cachet, and that is a value. If I can work on a property and get a certain amount of visibility, that is worth money to me. That's going to be worth sales. You have to have sort of you have to have the 35,000 foot view, as they call it. Like, you have to have the macro view of everything. You can't look at each individual job as something that's going to make or break you.
Yeah.
And that way you can, because when you look at it like that, then you can go to these passion projects and you're not so concerned about, I have to make that much off that, I have to make that much of that. You're compartmentalizing it.
Yeah, and I think it's back to the thing we said earlier. I mean, it's balance in the end. I mean, there are jobs where you can afford.
Earlier and said that word because it would have saved us a lot of time.
Yeah,
it's all about balance. It's about, as a working illustrator, you have to pay your bills. You have the jobs that pay your bills, and then you have your passion projects, and you're constantly going back and forth between those two, and trying to find that balance. And it's easier said than done. Absolutely.
Indeed. Okay, there was a lot of real talk, and we get to some lighter tones here. I wanted to know, what's the last movie you have seen or TV show?
Oh, I wasn't ready for this one. Okay.
Was it in cinema?
When's the last time I went to a movie theater? I have to admit it was pre-COVID. I haven't been to a movie theater.
Okay, fair enough. But what's home cinema? Now let's talk home cinema.
Home cinema. Can I use TV shows? Can I use?
Sure. Anything that entertains.
Yeah, the reason why I like them, and this is just being busy, is I can digest them really quickly, and I can't wait till Peaky Blinders comes back.
All right,
that's one of my big and the fascism angle of that. I'm fascinated to see where they go in the next season of that. So that I'm chomping at the bit. My wife got me into the Handmaidens Tale. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen
that. That's a very interesting one, right?
Yeah.
I think
though the first season is the best. After that,
I think their budget. I don't know if it's the budget thing, but the minute they got into the international politics stuff, you're like, this sort of breaks down. I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on here as far as like the big picture of that world. You know, like they built the world up and then they sort of don't have the money to sort of show you. And what else? The one that I really want to see that I haven't, and I don't know if you're familiar with the property, is Foundation.
Of course. I'm not the last one that came on Friday. I haven't seen it yet, but that's the one. That's planned for tonight. That's planned for tonight.
Yeah, I haven't started it yet. That's the one I'm most nervous about, because that is Foundation is basically it's one of those books that it was my Bible. I just kept it with me constantly read it as a child and as a young person.
Please update on your thoughts on the show. Then I'm interested.
I've heard some things that concern me. I've heard some things that give me pause, but at the same time, anybody that's familiar with the source material knows that there's going to have to be changes made for.
Of course. I
any
mean, Tom
show.
Bombadil wasn't in Lord of the Rings, and we still watched it.
Bingo. Great example. So I'm just hoping that they keep the core spirit of.
How are you, by the way, on Succession?
I'm sorry?
On Succession? Have you seen Succession?
I have not seen. That's also on my list. Have you been watching that?
Yeah. The third season already started. I think it's the third episode or the second episode that just came out, and excited for that one as well.
My list is very long. You're talking to someone, and I'm going to make a big admission. This is like pulling down my pants on live TV here. I have yet to see Stranger Things.
Well, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm not.
Well, I was there for the originals, so I figured I was actually going to see movies before, so I think I've seen it. But yeah, there's a bunch of back stuff that I just haven't gotten a chance to go see. I mean, I haven't seen Dune yet. Have you seen Dune?
Yeah, 3 times already.
Okay, that one I haven't.
Bond.
A lot of the Disney releases I haven't seen. A lot of Disney Plus stuff I haven't seen. The What If stuff yet. Got to get caught up on that. I'm woefully behind, man. I'm just.
It's okay. It's fine. I mean, you got a job that keeps you busy.
Yeah, but it's sort of my job to keep up on these things at the same time.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm failing. I'm failing in all sorts of ways.
Okay. But fair enough. I mean, I can recommend, by the way, this new Netflix show, Inside Job. That's really fun.
Inside.
I had
heard of that.
It's about this basically all the different conspiracy theories that are floating around out there. They're making fun of it. It's like a Rick and Morty type of show, and they work for this company called Cognito Inc. And they build like the robot presidents. They have to deal with the lizard people and the flat earthers and stuff like that. It's like really funny.
Now, is it the type of show that you get mad at the flat earthers, or does it give you satisfaction against the flat earthers?
There's like, I don't know. There's like this thing. I forgot what it was, like the details were, but like this one guy, I think it's just the father of the main character, and spoken by Christian Slater, and he's like, yeah, I just had some fun with some people and floated some theories around because we just wanted to keep an eye on these people, and then so they all believed in that, and then they take over this wedding, and they wanna take a ship to the end of the earth basically, and then there's some other stuff that I don't want to spoil, which is fun, but it's like.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm in.
It's really good. It's really good. I had tons of laughs, and I think it's a great animated show.
I need recommendation. I wrote it down.
Did you watch Squid Game? Squid Game? No.
Squid Game? No, I have not watched it. I caught my wife. It's funny you say that. I caught her watching it last night and scolded her and said, "I can't believe you're watching Squid Game without me." And yeah, it was actually kind of a tussle we got into. So yeah, I will be watching that with her. She shut it on.
You better play some red light, green light.
God, you want to know what that means?
It's the first game that everybody's talking about, like where like this doll like sings a song and then like says this red light, green light, and then if the doll turns around, like then you have to stop and can't move. But you will see what this is all about.
I'm excited.
Okay. So that's really great. And what else did I want to say? Squid Game was good, but yeah, I mean you got some catching up to do. So I'll leave it at that here. Next up is there something you want to see that's fairly recent release or that's going to be released? Is there like Oscar contenders?
That's really the one that I'm scared, and yeah, that's the one I'm really nervous about. And I can't really think of anything else that right now that I'm looking forward to as far as
Matrix 4.
No, a lot of Disney releases. I'm interested to see how some of those work out.
Matrix 4.
Matrix 4, I'm actually really interested in.
Perfect.
Yeah, Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of de-aging, or I'm not sure about how they're going to do a lot of that stuff. But
I don't think I think it's gonna be like a reincarnation type of thing. Because like
okay,
I remember when I think it was in the first one when they talked about like no, it was with the architect, I think, where when they talk about like the cycle that each the chosen one version goes through,
okay.
and I think this kind of
It's supposed to be more of a like. I don't know if you got into the sequels at all. Did you like 2 and 3?
they're not my favorites, but they're okay.
That's I guess my trepidation with the remake is I want to see more of a continuation of the first Matrix, and as long as it's more that than
I think it is.
continue.
I think it is. I mean, we got young Morpheus, we got the dojo again. We have basically how he, at least that's what I gathered from the trailers. That he like has to become from Thomas Anderson again to Neo. This kind of way, and I think that resembles a lot the first one.
Yeah, as long as it has the tone of that first one, I think we'll be okay. But yeah, when that second one started out with what was it like the dance party in the cave, and that was yeah. So yeah, as long as they redeem things like that, I think I'll enjoy it.
Okay, cool. And I mean, we talked about favorite movies already, but is Jaws the favorite, or is there anything else?
Absolutely, Jaws. I mean, Raiders is probably my top.
Okay.
If I had to like on a loop and just have, if they, that wouldn't torture me. That would be a good. I'm a little nervous about the new one.
All right. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, I would say Raiders. Yeah, I'm more of like an 80s 90s guy, so probably Spielberg, you can't go wrong. I mean, I think Close Encounters is one of those ones that not enough people talk about. Close Encounters. I mean, it's still. I saw it with my wife the other night, and I was blown away again by it. Just how that's an esoteric film, and that's almost an art film.
Yeah,
it really is kind of amazing that ever got released as a picture.
I had the chance to see Ghostbusters Afterlife yesterday, so that was interesting. And I think it was a great adventure. I think it was a great adventure.
Okay, that's very on the fence. You just sat on the fence right there.
No, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think I'm on an embargo to not say anything. But
leaving the theater,
I had a good time. I had a good time. My overall rating of the movie is after I went out is 7 of 10.
Okay, I'll take it.
Without spoilers, I mean, it had personally for me, it had some pacing problems, and some logical issues, but nothing that doesn't like that or nothing that takes away from the fun that it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. How was Paul? How was he in
it? He was great. Perfect cast. Yeah. Great role. Loved it.
Paul. I think I'm safe.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, then let's talk about some other posters than yours. Is there anything that you have seen lately that you really enjoy and wanna plug here, or maybe you want to get in your collection?
I sent you one that was one that I dug out of my collection that I didn't frame for years and years, and
it's the one behind you, right?
Yeah, it's right there.
Exactly. I pulled it up for people to see here.
Yeah, that's from '93, man. That's
that's how long it was in the tube. I hope you flattened it.
Well, no. I actually picked it up for cheap because someone dry mounted it. And you know what the process is, right? When somebody puts it to a backboard.
Yeah.
And a lot of poster collectors like turn their nose up at that. I'm like, I can get that cheap. I don't care if it's posted because I love the image. I mean, you've seen the image, right? That is all too relevant to our current.
It is.
And I'm also a huge Melvins fan. I don't know if you're familiar with the band, but great band. And that's what I'm buying now. Is I'm going back towards a lot of the '90s, early 2000s gig posters, and for some reason, I just even a lot of the modern artists now. I mean, that's a particular artist called Taz, who I think it stood for Temporary Autonomous Zone. I think that was very political sort of concern that did all those things. His name's Jim Evans. If you ever want to look up, he did the Jumanji movie. Like he runs an agency out in LA. The same dude that did that poster years ago. And yeah, he's someone that you should look up if you don't know him.
He will be tagged.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm more collecting like who else? I've collected a lot of William Stout stuff. Bill Stout, if you're familiar with his work. He's an older artist. Actually, a friend of mine now. When I first started collecting him, I didn't know him. I've been fortunate enough to do a few Mondo cons with him and meet him at a few conventions. One of the most talented guys that's ever worked in film. I mean, he did concept work on the first Raiders. He did. He's
not related with Tyler Stout, right?
No, not at all. I'm glad you brought that up.
Who knows?
Bill. William is much older. William is now in his 70s. I
mean, maybe an uncle, you know.
He could be. I don't think that. I don't think they're related though. It's an interesting question. But he's a guy that has actually done Who album covers. He's done Rolling Stone covers. He's the kind of guy that if you hang out with him, he will tell you stories about partying with Jimmy Page and Robert Plant in the heyday of Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
He's a monster, dude. This dude is like, he's like Zelig, you know. He's like one of these dudes that's seen everything in pop culture for the past, 50 years, basically. He designed, he worked for Imagineering at Disney for years. Designed Paris. He designed a million. He designed the theme park that Michael Jackson built on his estate. William Stout designed that.
Crazy.
So he's done, everything, and he's a great. He did a lot of the concept for Jurassic Park. He's the kind of guy that if you ever see him at a convention, you go up to him, you ask him to draw you any dinosaur, instantly draw you a perfect version of a dinosaur.
Crazy.
Without any difference. Just one of those superheroes of the illustration world.
That's I want to give a quick shout out to Gareth Griffith, the founder of AmJam, the alternative movie poster convention, and he's a big Jurassic Park dinosaur fan. So
I love Gareth.
Check out this guy.
I know Gareth.
Cool.
I think he posted that he had gotten a copy of Jurassic Park a little while ago.
Yeah, perfect. You also have one. There's a William Stout poster that you have framed lately, right? To take that.
Yeah, that's the reason why I brought him up. It was the last thing framed was William's Wizards. You probably haven't heard of that. It's Ralph Bakshi. You know Ralph Bakshi, who did the original Lord of the Rings animated feature.
Yep, I know him, but and I actually know this poster, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think Kiko Sternberger or somebody else mentioned this poster before.
Okay, yeah, it's a very famous poster, and I was lucky enough to get some of his original art from that poster, and that was the last thing I framed. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a lot of stuff from these guys that they're still with us, but they won't be for long, and it's a little like these legends are still walking the earth, and why they still are, trying to draw attention to them, because it's kind of amazing to me. I mean, I'll even mention Frank Frazetta to some kids, and people don't seem to know. A lot of these artists aren't making the leap to the next generation, and it's just crazy to me that we're going to lose some of these dudes, and not enough people know who they are. It's really
I mean, that's why the podcast is here, and people like you can teach something.
It's so good. So good.
Is there anything from like the newer releases from the galleries that caught your eye?
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. Basically, the stuff that really I'm really drawn to is the more esoteric stuff now. Stuff that really, I mean,
Do you like more Gaia stuff?
Yeah, I do.
I think the bottleneck stuff with the band posters, like the Guns N' Roses stuff and similar, and like the Metallica and Kiss stuff. I think that's more esoteric in the kind of way what they're doing there. So.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going towards the more like my friends at We Buy Your Kids, for instance. Do you know them, Sonny and Biddy?
Yeah, they have been on the show.
Yeah, they're Sonny's they're great friends of mine, and I think they do something like those are the artists that I'm really into now that I really want to collect. Is they're just outside the box, man. I mean, they're just. When you see Sonny and Biddy design a poster, I mean, I can't imagine designing that. I mean, I just can't do that. I see a lot of posters and I'm like, yeah, I understand what I'm looking at there. Like, it's like listening to a song and you understand the chord progression, and then you listen to like, avant-garde jazz and you're like, I have no idea what even key I'm in anymore. It's like when I'm looking at, Sonny and Biddy stuff, I mean, they're so far beyond how a lot of people approach these things that it's just, it really is so fresh.
Yeah, little plug here for the people. Go check out the interview because they talk about the way they work and how like two people come together to make one poster. Check it out. It's all in there in the podcast. Couple months back, I think. So yeah, look into that.
They're both amazing people.
They are.
On top of being amazing artists. So a couple of Aussies. We won't hold that against them, but just great artist. Such a unique point of view. That's really what you want to do. Is you want to bring more people into. We have enough of one thing. You want all these different. That's the great part about lowbrow art is it's not one thing. It's a lot of these different things, and it can absorb all these different styles. And I think that's the total strength of this stuff. Is that I think how many Jaws posters can you make? I'm gonna see how many Jaws posters. I'll definitely determine that. But yeah, it constantly surprises me how unique some of these approaches are, and every time I think that someone's sucked every bit of marrow out of that bone, somebody will come by and show you that no, there's actually real things there. There's still stuff left in that property, and that's sort of the amazing part of all this. Really,
exactly. I mean, that's why all the property, like the bigger properties, still work. I mean, as you said, there could have been all the Marvel, Star Wars posters or whatever because it has been done to death, basically. But hey, there's a new one that has never been done before and it looks great. Let's buy this one.
Yeah, that's I think that's the biggest danger, right? Is the fatigue, is the sameness, is the yeah. Once it doesn't become fresh anymore, then we're in a little bit of trouble, Then it'll stop seeming like something that like is really. We were talking before about the alternative nature of it. People have to keep approaching this like they've never seen this shit before. I want someone to give me a Jurassic Park poster that they just saw it yesterday and this is their fresh impression of it. We've seen enough 30-something and 40-something's view of like what that is, I'm really excited to see what that 12-year-old is going to say in 6 years when they can, actually make a screen print, and they might come out with something that I never even thought of.
Yeah, I mean, there's different perspectives make different movie posters. Yeah. Alrighty, then let's take a look at something we talked about already about what you put up lately. So that's kind of done. But your workspace is in construction right now, under construction right now.
Yep.
So we're just gonna keep it at that.
COVID. That's a COVID thing too. I mean, with two professionals working in the same space, I've learned how to be mobile. That's good advice to any up and coming artist.
That's later. Keep that for later.
I'm telling you, it'll. That's one of the things that really has I think saved me in the past year and a half is that I could take, my workstation. I can take my tablet or whatever I have, and I can go down to the beach. I can go down to an open space. I can, get a perspective on what I'm doing. And you don't want to be stuck in your office because you're going to be in that chair a long time, man.
Yeah, and it's not good for your back.
Not good at all. I'm kneeling at the moment, by the way.
I was wondering what the height was like because I saw that earlier, so I was like,
all kneeling, moving around, keep moving around. Save your back.
Okay. I wondered, like, you sent me some pictures of your house. I think it is right. Like when I look outside, is that what you sent? Because like this snow picture and.
That was an alternative to the actual workspace because that's what I consider. Okay. If I have to give you like what my workspace is, that's my workspace. That's what I see. That's what I want to look at when I'm drawing.
But we're not there yet, right?
I'm sorry?
We're not there yet, right? It's still a little bit better outside.
Oh yeah, actually, those are just to show you the different, views outside my window. I mean, we're not in the snow yet.
View looks. I mean, is that inspired by the first Frank Lloyd Wright series for the house? It looks like it.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of why I sent you those. Is that's important. Is to put yourself in an inspiring environment and to put yourself in a state of mind where you can create without having to sort of manifest some sort of inspiration. All I have to do is put up my shades, and on a sunny day, it's all the inspiration I need. And I think that's often overlooked. People, especially illustrators that are doing this for a living, you get stuck behind a machine, you get stuck behind a screen, you don't look up enough. And, we were talking about the sameness of everything. The way you combat that and the way you combat copying other people's work is you don't use that as your inspiration. You use, it's like a great rock and roll band that grew up listening to bluegrass. I don't want you listening to rock and roll and then playing in a rock and roll band. I want you listening to doo-wop or some avant-garde thing and then some like fusion or something and then become a rock and roll. And then that's going to be interesting what you come up with.
Yeah, it's like being a rap artist listens to soul, funk.
It's all just going to, it's this incestuous thing. You're just feeding off the same corpse. And that's never going to be interesting, and it's never going to be sustainable.
Yeah, I mean,
you just want more. You want more genres. You want everything hitting this stuff.
Yeah, at some point, nothing's left anymore. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, God, it's a sample culture, and that's as long as you can recontextualize it and transform it. It's art that's transformative is the most interesting thing, I think, now. And that's what all this pop culture stuff is. It's something that's so familiar. I mean, how many times have we seen Raiders? You've seen it a million, Star Wars a million times. But if you can make someone see that scene in a different way, man, that's a magic trick. I mean,
Indeed
that's something 80,000 times, and you're like, and you present an image, and they're like, wow. I never noticed that before. Wow, I never felt that way before about that particular scene. I mean, it's really the goal of all this shit. That's you're trying to.
that's why I like the kind of concepts pieces. I don't know, like Dolly's Lord of the Rings with the ring and the foil. That I think that worked so well, and I think that was a concept that we have not seen, and they're like throwing the shadow of the Tower of Angmar, and or looking at Matt Ferguson's series where he has like, I don't know, like R2D2 as the silhouette, and then in every part of R2D2 that makes it up is like parts of the story, or where he has BB-8, and around BB-8 you can see the story, and I think
Yes.
that's
It's interesting you mentioned those prints, because those are actually way more interesting to me than some of his other stuff, because those are really strong concepts.
Yep. These are my favorite as well. I think he's done a good job on those.
It's interesting. I love it. I think we're going through a little reinvention of all this stuff, and once you have a good concept, I think that's the important part of all of this stuff. The execution is really important, but the idea is more important.
Yeah.
And
I think that I'm also like having this not those obvious moments in there. I mean, there are so many moments. I mean, there's always great moments, but there are like I think for every each one of us, there are different moments within a movie that makes this movie special to us. And to capture one of these moments, this is the magic, you know, to get that right and tell basically, for example, my favorite part of the story. Like, you know, if you capture that in an image, and this is why we buy it, because this is my favorite moment, and nobody else has done that before, and I think that would definitely take me in.
Yeah, as long as people, and I'm sure you've seen it, that's my biggest, I think, challenge going forward, especially with galleries and everything like that going forward, is you need good curation for this stuff. And if I have a problem with any gallery, it's because they release too many things. It's because they beat an IP to death, and they don't focus on making their pieces special for maybe an overused property. Mm-hmm. And you can really kill an IP like that. You know, you can really kill enthusiasm for that property by...
The problem is, though, I totally get it what you say, but the problem is the people still buy it.
It is a problem. Although I wouldn't necessarily look at that as something, because I think people can buy it. I think that's where I look at the secondary a little more, and see what people are talking about a week after its release, right? Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of these things are really hyped at the drop, and then you're like, where'd that poster go? Nobody ever talked about that poster again. Nobody thought about that poster again. People are giving that shit away for nothing. You know, as a collector, I'm sure you know that's the important thing, is to separate the hype from the actual quality. Mm-hmm. And any collector, that's important. Like, we need good collectors. We need discerning collectors that are gonna be like, no, I've seen that before. I mean, I don't know if you watch a lot of like Facebook shit and all that, but I do. There's not a month that goes by that somebody's not caught ripping something or.
Yep. I didn't want to touch upon that because we
closely, and
we talked about this. James and I talked about it.
I think that's important, man. Some people are like, "Oh, I hate that," and I'm like, "No, that's kind of good." It's you need sort of a culling. You need real criticism of this stuff.
Listen. Should we talk about this? Because I mean, we could name names here, but we don't have to.
Not naming. I'm not going to name any names.
Because without saying anything, people in the know what we're talking about here. But I mean, you are involved in this kind of thing.
But I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about, like, I've seen tons of just people that I worked with, tons of their stuff being rehashed. And I mean, after you've had like 20 years, I mean, it's been going for a while, you know, this stuff. And Mondo's been putting up posters for, you know, over 15 years now. And you're naturally going to have people stepping on, visiting the same concepts and sort of doing that. I don't necessarily think that pointing these things out is supposed to be like, you're not trying to ruin anybody here. You're trying to basically say, try harder, if that makes any sense. You're trying to sort of, push them gently to say, that's a little too close there, man. Like we've seen that before.
Copy the homework, but change it.
Yeah. That's a great metaphor, because like they say, good artists borrow, great artists steal, right? That's the whole trite phrase. Mm-hmm. If you steal and if you borrow, just make sure it's transformative, right? Just make sure that the first thing they think of when they see that new transformative piece, that the first thing they think of isn't the old piece. And why did they just rehash that old piece? And there's a million ways to do that. We've talked about it here. And I think as long as the consumers and the collectors demand that, I think all of this doesn't become really a problem.
Yeah.
Sort of this organic thing that sort of polices itself, And like I said, it's nothing but it's the sincerest form of flattery is invitation. It's absolutely true. And most of the time when you see people, use your concept or whatever, I feel nothing but flattered. Okay. It's sort of incredible sometimes. The thing that you don't want is for the consumer and the people that are buying these things to be like, oh, it's just the same thing, and to shut the entire thing off and to think, oh, we're just rehashing the same stuff over and over again, and lose their enthusiasm for collecting to begin with. And I'm a collector as well as an artist. So it's important to me to feel excited about buying other people's work as well. That feeds into how healthy I think the entire subculture is and how healthy the community is. And that's all the point of talking about this stuff is I just want everybody to, not be satisfied with just rehashing something. Rehash something that you like and then make it better, make it different, add something to it, add to the conversation, keep that conversation going, because that's what's going to keep new people coming in, keep everybody happy. You'll be able to sell your old stuff to the new people, and, this whole train keeps rolling. That's basically, it's not a punitive thing. You don't want to punish anybody, because that's really not the business we're in. We're in the business of you want people taking chances, and if they get smacked down, that's okay. It doesn't mean you have to stay down. It means you say, okay, I realize what I didn't do right there. Maybe the next piece I'm gonna, this is my piece and I'm gonna do it right. And I think that's just the most important thing, is just keep moving forward, man, and just not be satisfied with just the same shit over and over again, because I don't. There's a reason why they keep going back to the same movies, right? Yep. There's certain movies that
money.
There is, but there's
I know.
Money, right? Is because they impact enough people so that these are being passed generationally down, and there's not a lot of movies like that, especially nowadays. You wonder what the new stuff that's going to have that kind of legs is. It's really tough to see now. There's a few things like Dune, like one of those things. I think that's why we celebrate a movie like that, because we're like, oh, this actually we could be making art for this 20 years from now.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of stuff you can say that about.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you need those I don't know, what's the fourth quadrant, like the people have this generational aspect of things.
That's right. We'll get into the marketing speak. That's good marketing speak.
Yeah. So yeah, we touched on a lot of things. So I'm just gonna keep it short. And the last one here, I mean, we had some good ending words here, but I don't want to. I want to keep it going for a little bit longer. And
let I'm just going to collapse after you shut this off. So
I know. You can lay down after that. Let's talk about your approach real quick. How do you go about your artwork, and like how do you do that?
As in like whether I start out conventionally, pencil, paper, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I often, most things start off simple sketch, newspaper, scrap paper, or whatever I have lying around.
Quick follow up. Do you still watch, for example, Jaws, and do stuff with that, or you just
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, because I actually jumped ahead. The first thing you do, you sit down without an agenda, you grab a drink, you get yourself in a good mood, and you let it take you again, and you let it. The inspiration is the fucking point, man. It's like, that's the thing about the sameness, and we keep going back there, is you have to watch these things like you've never seen them before every time you see them. And that's how you get those unique posters that you're like, oh my God, I didn't even think that could make a good poster. Like that seemed like such a quiet scene. Who the hell would make that a poster? Oh, I just made it a poster. Wow, it works. It's tough. I mean, that's I wish I had a tried and true method to approaching it like that. Some people, I guess, would have a few drinks. Some people would smoke something. Some people would just get incredibly tired. That works too.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. I would state really well. But yeah, just that's the first step. And then you get to the sketch point where you're like, unless you feel like it seems so it seems so highbrow, and we're talking about lowbrow, right? But the idea is always the most important thing.
Indeed, it is.
Your idea and your concept is not strong, the entire piece will be a struggle.
I mean, you can be such a great artist, right? But technique isn't everything.
I don't think technique is anything. Technique is individual. Technique is totally subjective. Concept is very rarely is not as subjective to me. The concept can be very concrete and so impactful, and so like the best concepts are the ones that you're like, oh shit, I should have thought of that. Like it's right there, right? It seems so fucking obvious once they did it.
I'll remind me to show you something afterwards as well. Okay. Then you're gonna say, oh shit, I should have done that. I got one for you.
But I'm glad that reaction, because if we had to boil all this shit down into one thing, that's the important part is if you don't have a strong concept, then the whole thing is a waste of fucking time. It really is. You're wasting everybody's time, and then it's just a commerce thing. Then it's just, I'm just selling this shit to you, and I'm making as much money as I can, and I'm hyping
just a paycheck.
When you have a strong concept and you really are into the piece you're doing, you don't have to sell shit. It'll come off me naturally how much I'm into this, and that'll bleed into everything that I'm doing. And I've seen from experience, those are the pieces that will sell. Those are the pieces that will really connect other people and other sensibilities. And God, I wish I could quantify that and make a formula, because I'd sell that shit forever. But that's I guess that is the magic trick, right? That's the alchemy that we're doing. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Indeed, it is. Okay, I wanted to ask. This is one of my favorite questions. I'm really excited what you're going to say about this. And it's, which classical artist or fine artist would you like to see make a film poster, and which movie or franchise would he tackle, or she?
That's a great fucking question. Number one. They can be dead, right?
What's that?
Could they be dead?
It most of the time it's better that they're dead. But let's okay.
I'm gonna go Herb Ryman. Do you know who Herb Ryman is?
No. You need to tell me more. While you do that, I'll look him up.
He's probably the best artist to ever work for the Disney company. He did not work exclusively for Disney. He actually, if you look up his history, he was trained by a monster of a father who basically trained him to be this monster painter from the time he was like 8 years old. Would make him sit and
I can see what you're saying here.
Take him train trips through Europe and make him, work for, busk, basically like busk for money, draw people in the street and shit like that. And this guy turned into such a illustrative badass by the time he was, a mature guy. Walt Disney used him to design Disneyland itself.
Yeah. I have that right now.
Drew the entire first concept image of the park that got them the money to build it. He drew it in a famous story with Walt where they sat in a room and he drew the entire concept art for Disneyland in 48 hours.
Crazy.
Yeah, you can definitely Google that image.
I'll just pull it up. I just pulled it up. People are seeing it right now.
Yeah, that's a very small part of what Ryman could do too. There's a Ryman Institute of the Arts in California. I think it's part of Cal Arts. I'm not sure, but he did a lot of concept art for Walt Disney World. He designed Cinderella Castle. Just an all around, and he's the kind of guy that could do a classical painting that would hang in the Louvre, and you would never even think that anybody associated with pop culture would have done this. Just an amazing conventional oil painter, concept guy. Everything he did was just so unique and so organic, and he's the kind of guy that could really make fantastical real. That's why he was so good with theme parks, because you could take something that some sort of wacky idea and really sort of set it in the real world and set it in a environment where people would actually be able to enjoy it. And if that guy was ever given any type of movie poster, concept work, or anything, I mean,
what movie would you like to see his key art for?
Yeah, I would just give them carte blanche, and I mean,
I'm gonna nail you down. You need to name something.
What? Which actually want?
Yeah, you are a big studio now. Whatever you're gonna pick, you're gonna go say, Herb Ryman, here you go. I want you to do a movie poster for this movie.
Oh, that's even more complex. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's a really tough one. I would love Kubrick. I would love him to do Kubrick posters. Now that I think about it, like do a jacket. Like,
all right.
By the way, Full Metal Jacket is one of the toughest properties. I've attempted it a couple times.
Yeah.
I've actually a couple of concepts rejected by the crew. So I think I could speak from some experience here that I would love to see him tackle something like that, or give him give him Clockwork Orange and just say,
okay,
what would you come up with? Would he go architecture? Would he go milk? Would he go? There's just so many ways that I could imagine. That's the fascinating thing, is when you think of an artist and you're like, I can't even tell what he'd do there. He could go in a million different ways. That's Herb Ryman. He was such a
chameleon,
versatile illustrator that I can't even imagine, what he'd do. Definitely blow me away.
I'll take it.
World class.
Alrighty, and last but not least, I want to give you the chance to give some shout outs to fellow artists, friends, family, your parents, whoever you want to, and also let the people know where they can find you first.
Goodness. Well, I'm really easy to find. JC Richard. Just Google that. All my stuff will come up. JC Richard Art on Instagram. I run a business called Microcosmic Media, which is probably the worst branding ever. Pre-internet, pre-keyword, pre-SEO. So, that one wasn't so well thought out. But just Google my name. You can find me. I'm actually going to be traveling soon, which is interesting. I'm going to get the hell out of here for the first time in a long time and go to Designer Con in Anaheim in a couple weeks. I believe it starts the 12th. 12th is the preview night, 12th, 13th, 14th. And if you see me in the parks, please say hello. I'll probably be jumping in Disneyland as soon as I get out of my booth. And going to have some new Amity 74 stuff, some new architecture stuff that I'm working on, the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff I'm going to have. And I'm going to be exhibiting with my friend. I don't know if you're familiar with the company Little Shop of Pins, run by my friend Jason Lewag and his lovely wife.
I think I heard about them.
Yeah, he's been a.
Did you say pins or did you say prince?
I'm sorry?
Did you say prince or pins?
No, pins. Little Shop of Pins.
Okay, because
he does.
Oh, yeah, that was little. Because there's this other thing called Little Friends of Printmaking or Prince of Printmaking.
Are a different company, just as good, awesome.
Yeah.
They do the little cute, a lot of gig posters and things. They were actually awesome couple.
Yeah, they have been on the podcast for the was it the 59 in Parks? I think for 59 Parks book.
Okay.
Which did you do art? Did you do posters for that one?
They asked me, and I know JP. I know everybody involved, and they're all friends. But the scheduling just never worked out. I've always been busy, and I will do something with him.
Yeah, would have loved to see a park by you.
Running joke, I'm going to do it next month. It's like the running joke we've had for 5
Okay.
Yeah, great book, great project. I love all that stuff. That's right up my alley too.
Perfect.
Right, continue. That train is going to keep rolling. I'm going to do as many as they'll let me do.
Perfect. Can't wait. So I'm ready for the next one.
I know this is. I know you're into it. This is one of those ones that everybody that I talk about the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff is like, when are you doing this? When are you doing this one?
Dude, so, every series I bought almost all of them. My wallet is hurting every time.
That's a lot. That's a lot, man.
I know, but they're just that good. I'll just love them all. It's crazy.
Well, I'm telling you, I don't think it's a bad investment.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I really do think these things. I mean, there's a lot of things that I do that I'm like, I don't know what the future value of this. The Frank Lloyd Wright stuff, I think people are just starting with that stuff. So I think that's a
Yeah, and I think in this kind of direction, more stuff will come.
Huh. Yeah. And you know what I also like to do? The funny part is it's opening up to the architecture. I've been in contact with more people that have sort of interesting houses that they want maybe a rendering of their house that maybe was Frank Lloyd Wright inspired. And then there's a couple other architects, especially in Hawaii, we're talking about. There's a couple of... I'm not even. I can't get into it because this is all like in progress.
But is it private commission stuff or gallery stuff?
There are some private commission stuff, but working with the foundation has been such a great thing. It opened up a world to me that I really wasn't familiar with. People they're into great art, but they're not necessarily into like screen prints and sort of. It really is the screen prints as a medium are really something that I always thought I'd get sick of. I always thought that it was like, it'll be cool, for a little while, but then you're like, oh, the image should be enough. But then, lately there's something really about screen prints that are so special in the digital world, man, that there's, I can
It's like
print the
vinyl.
pitch.
It's kind of like vinyl, right?
I'm sorry?
It's kind of like vinyl.
It's exactly like vinyl. That's what I thought you said. It's it just can't be recreated digitally. You just can't do it. And you know, you can do NFT purchases as you want, but man, there's something about these things. If to wrap it all up, like the prints to me are talismans. These things are like, I know it sounds so crazy, but it's like people do imbue meaning into these objects.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I would deal with these things, or I would have the same feelings about them if they weren't physical.
Yeah.
Just something about being able to take them out of the flat file, to move them in the light, to see the specular highlights come out differently, different layers,
Even
and
sometimes softly touch them, like feel the texture on it. It's great.
your finger over them, hopefully gloved, right?
Of course.
You don't have to glove them, please. The dirty secret is
not everything,
like
but
fingerprints all over them. Like
I always wash the hands anyways before, and
But yeah, that's what I think is really, as we go forward into like, the next decade that we're facing, where everything is so digitized, and now it's not Facebook, now it's Meta, and now I have to interact with you in some sort of digital VR space, and that's great, man. I'm not trying to sound like an old man here. Like I appreciate this stuff and I really enjoy this stuff, but I mean, really, I think why we're all into this and why this stuff is so meaningful to us is that it's tangible and that it's real, and that we can share real things with each other.
Yeah, and it's such a joy to put them up in your home. I mean, like putting walls together and have like people that come to your home actually like love to see this and like look at the details that you've seen the first time, and you always love, like when you walk by, look at the details and it's like appreciate this kind of moment.
Absolutely. And that shows you how unique it is, because it's becoming rarer and rarer that you get to walk into someone's house and you're like, wow, like I didn't even know like stuff like that existed. Or, I've seen flat posters, but I've never seen anything like that thing looks like it's looking at me, or it's like, it's amazing how quickly this stuff can be lost. I used to think, it's the younger person's conceit, like things will be around forever, and then you look and you see if they're not used, they just fall by the wayside, and it's really easy to lose knowledge, and to lose really good knowledge, really useful knowledge. And this stuff isn't necessarily just, it's not destined, so, me talking to you being passionate about this, you sharing with your listeners. This is
my students even. I always like tell my students, show them.
It's just people that are passionate, people like-mindedness, are people, that's what I call them. This stuff is organic, and it's important, and it's meaningful, and I encourage people to not get cynical about it, because it's almost the least cynical thing I can think about when I think about things nowadays. Sitting down with that piece of art you love, enjoying it with your fellow, poster collectors or, enthusiasts. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, man. It just doesn't. And, I hope we can do this in person someday, and
I hope so too.
Share enthusiasm. And I hope that if you ever come to Massachusetts and Salem in general, you look me up and we can go around and discover this wonderful art. There's 3D art everywhere. There's 2D art everywhere. There's musical art everywhere, and just
same goes for you. Same goes for you.
That's it, man. That's the meaning of life for me, right there.
Perfect. I mean, that's the perfect words right there. I'm just gonna sum up the podcast: democracy, balance, and enjoyment. Right there, you have it, people. Thank you for sticking with us.
That's a great T-shirt.
Thank you for sticking with us. It's been a pleasure to talking to you, JC, and to many more.
All right. Honored.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
No, I've been recording everything actually.